In this video, we're going to look at putting pictures on our website. Anytime you want to use an image on your website, you need to have it located in a folder on the server, or you need to know where it's located on the internet. For this video, I'm just going to worry about one that we're going to embed with our web page from the same website. So if we go over here and look at the folder, my web page folder that I created on my desktop back in the first video, I have my index file in there. I've also put in there profile. I want to change that name. Spaces in file names are not good when you're doing internet programming. So profile underscore SM for small, .jpg. A picture of, well, it's not me, my avatar or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to put this picture onto my web page. So I'm putting it in the same folder as my index file. Same folder as the web page that's going to display it for now. There's other ways to do it, but for now we're going to do this. Then in my code, I can come over here, and depending on where I want to put the picture, I am going to do an image tag. So img is the image. And then inside that tag, notice I have not closed, I haven't put the greater than sign there yet. I have to specify the source file. I have to say where the source is located. And if I put equals and quotation marks in there, I have to put the name of the file. So the name of this file was profile underscore SM, profile underscore SM .jpg. So notice the file name is in quotation marks. Now when I do an image, I also by standards want to put an alt tag, an alt property, alt equals, and then I want to put in here bad at the computer. So this tag is what's going to appear if something's wrong with our image. It's also going to be used by people who have maybe visual difficulties and they're using audio navigation on the internet. Blind people use the internet. And this is what it will read. It will tell them it's a picture of me at the computer. So we always want to have an alt tag. The other thing we want to have is we want to specify the height and width of this image. So if I come back over here in Windows anyway, I'm going to say properties, and I can see details. I can see that the dimensions of this image are 300 by 300. So I'm going to add in here another one, height equals 300 pixels, width equals 300. So I put the height and width on there, then I close the tag. Notice an image tag doesn't have a /image to close it. It is a standalone tag. There's a few standalone tags that we have in HTML, and this is one of them. Sometimes you will see people using older standards put a / in there so that the tag is both its own opening and closing. That's a requirement for XML, extensible markup language, which HTML does come from there. In earlier versions of HTML, they emphasized putting those on that, but it's not really necessary anymore. So we can do it just like that. And then let me go over, I just saved it. Need a blank spot on here I'll use my Windows key shortcut. I'll refresh it, and you can see there's my picture. So since index is in the same folder, it just looked for a file named profile underscore small, and it put my picture in there. And it popped up ahead of the paragraph. Now, if I want to, I can stick this image. I'm going to take this in the code, and I'm going to stick it down there right before the I inside my paragraph. Now it's getting a little bit harder to read here. But you can see it still kind of looks like it's in the same spot because I put it in the beginning. Let's move it right in the middle. I'm going to move the image tag right in the middle of my code. Save it, refresh it, and then you can see I put it right after the word my, so then it stuck the picture in there and continued service in the United States Army. So we can move our picture around that way, but we're going to find better ways to put pictures in and format them than just moving them around. We'll get them to float to the right or left of text later on. If I want to put this at the end, move it, keep it in my paragraph, but stick it at the end. And again, sometimes these lines get so long that we do something like this, because remember, the extra space doesn't matter. And I can make a little block of code that's a little bit easier to see and copy and move around. So it's still the image tag, just separated on the separate lines. It still works. My automatic formatter is saying that line isn't too long, so it moved it back. So there it is. So United States Army, followed by my image. There's enough room to put my image without breaking the page there. If I make my page wider, you can see it's coming always right after the word Army because it's inside the paragraph. If I put it outside the paragraph, save it, it will always be on the next line down. This paragraph is a block tag. Talk about that later. So next thing that follows it is always going to be on a line down. So experiment with that. Now the other thing I want to point out is that, come on, I go back over here. Let's make a folder, new folder. Sometimes we do this on websites. I make a folder to hold all my images and I put my image in there. Which is fine. But now you can see I have a broken image. And it says mad at the computer. That's that alt text that we saw because it can't find the image. Since it's in a subfolder, I have to tell it, look in the images folder. And then find profile small.jpg. So I have to give it the path. Hey, look in this folder, and then there's a file named profile.jpg. If I save it, refresh it, now it can find the file again. So if it's in a folder below, we can do this. One other thing I would like to point out, the width and the height are important because it reserves space on your website for that image. When an image is being loaded into a website on a slow connection, it might take a while to load after the page loads. You have probably seen this if you ever looked at a link off your Facebook page or somewhere that takes you to one of those spam articles that it takes half an hour to read through the article and never does tell you anything, and you see as ads load in, the page jumps around. If you put the height and width in your page for the image, and if the image takes a little while to load, it reserves space for it so that your page does not jump around. It can preload the page with the right height and width reserved for the picture, and then the page won't jump around as the images load on a slower connection. So it's important to have the height and the width. I think that's all I got for images so far. So that's how you add an image to your web page.